Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for dropping by again, the 3D Shenanigans stream. And did I say good morning? Steve might be joining us. Steve is on after me today at 7. Is it 7? I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is all laid out, I believe, in the Google Calendar. So I think if I type !Cal, you can see the current streaming schedule with that really long URL. I might find a better, kind of a shorter URL for that. But yes, I'm trying to put my shift going forward into that. And it looks like currently I'm working tomorrow, then I'm off on Monday. So I'll be streaming on Monday. And then I'm working Tuesday, Wednesday. So I won't be streaming Tuesday, Wednesday if I'm going in to work on Tuesday, Wednesday. It's kind of up in the air. I'm not sure if I want to put myself out there, having survived cancer and all that. You think I would like for that to be something that keeps me going for a while rather than, some tiny little virus getting me after having survived that ordeal. You weigh up your options there. You weigh up your options. I was on at 7:30. Thank you so much for letting me know. That means we can run a little bit longer. That's exciting. So I want to show you two things today. Yes, Julia, that's a great point, actually. Brian has made something very exciting, and he has given me permission to share this with you, which is so, so cool. You were talking about this on your Patreon feed, Brian, that you had bought some new lighting equipment, I believe, that you could use to put your face through Character Creator into Unreal and then turn yourself into a 3D character. And you went one step further and put yourself into Polygon City, which is just so cool. I got to show you this. It is seriously awesome. And literally 10 minutes ago, Brian's put that on YouTube, and look at that, it's already got 20 views. That's exciting. So this is literally Brian. It says, I couldn't believe it. When I looked at it, I was thinking, man, this is Brian, isn't it? Unbelievable. So cool. Let's play it, because that is just seriously awesome. I love it when these things just come out of the blue and they just work. Crazy. Oh, I need to press play, don't I? That always helps. Don't think there's any audio on it. But yeah, this is Brian living in Polygon City. This is now where he's moved to. And I find that amazing, unbelievable. Loving the shoulders, by the way, and the shirt and the outfit. You look very muscular. Unbelievable. And I'm super happy to hear that you're going to share that process with us. Oh, that is nice of you. Thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing you samba dance. That is so exciting. I wonder, once you have a pipeline worked out that lets you do this, I wonder if this is a service that you can sell either through Patreon or through, I don't know, one-off payments. If you say to somebody, hey, if you want that, you can send me a couple of pictures of your face, and I'll make that for you. I'll send you an FBX or an OBJ or whatnot. That would be so super cool. Or you can have a tiered version of that. I'm just thinking out of the box here. You could say, well, you can come to my studio. I'll take pictures of you for, more money, but then you look just as handsome as Brian does in Polygon City. That is just so cool. I love it when you buy silly things that you think, hey, maybe that's interesting, like the Polygon bundle, and then a couple of weeks later you come up with this. That is just so cool. I love that. Yeah, collision issue there when you go into the park. Oh, wow, that is going to be so cool. I'm one of your supporters, so yeah, I'm definitely going to download that little guy, and we'll see what we can make him do in Blender. That'd be so cool. Or Unreal. What's the format? Is this an FBX? Yeah, it's got to be. Otherwise, then how you would lose the rigging? Otherwise, wouldn't you? Unbelievable, Brian. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is really cool. FBX, yeah, I like it. From one animation to another. Oh yeah, actually, let me give you a shout out while we're talking about that. I think if I just type !Brian, that gets you a link to Brian's website and YouTube channel. So if you want to comment on the video and watch it over and over again, that's where you can do that. Links in the chat right now. So nice. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And from one animation to another, let's watch the high-res version of what I made yesterday. So this is essentially, we've seen that already on my more or less bad internet connection yesterday. But here it is again in a slightly higher resolution. I've rendered that after our stream yesterday. And this is what we've come up with in Blender yesterday. So these are all the polygon characters, or some of them, dancing in the bank heist scene at 60 frames a second. And this is with the flat lighting. So this is a straight up viewport render. And we've looked at that yesterday as a slightly lower resolution, but this is the high-res version, and I think it looks so smooth. If you think about the 60 frames a second, which we couldn't do yesterday because my degraded internet connection, which is fine again, by the way. I don't know what happened there, but yeah, it's good again today. Julia's streaming and I'm streaming at the same time, so it's seems to be holding up really well. There's a lot of action going on here. It's kind of nice to watch this once or twice and then see what changes we'd like to make there. And I have a few ideas, so I'll talk you through that. But yes, the 60 frames a second is back, and it just came good, which is nice. I'm not asking any questions. I'm thinking, hey, that's just fine. That's just fine. So I like most of what I see in the interior. There may even be room to put another character into this here. I'm not sure. We can leave it as it is, but I think I'd like to speed the whole thing up a little bit. That's number one. That's the first change I'd like to make. Make things a little bit faster, especially the setup here. We can go into this a little bit faster, but that's just a matter of literally tightening up the keyframes and pushing them together. And then on scenes like this, when we're ending up on this scene, I can then go and add another camera that we cut to individual faces, like for a second or two, and then cut back to the wide shot. Similarly here, we can make this a bit faster, this whole pan onto these people, and we can also utilize things like this. Wide shot's nice, but we can then take literally snippets out of it and just go zoom into the bank manager, zoom out again, zoom into, I don't know, dancing couple at the back, zoom out, like switch out again. And I'll show you a nifty trick of how to do this with multiple cameras in Blender. We're already pretty close here, so we don't need to do anything there. But that's how we can break the shot up and make it a bit more interesting. And it's all going to be just a lot of fun as soon as we hear the music underneath it. This whole pan from here, leaving this area to the next area, I might just make that faster. So this could just go faster. Move the camera there a little bit that we don't hit that metal detector. And then we go into here, and that's also fine. Same thing as before, we can do this and then just go and cut in closer to these people, cut back out, and that is that. The happiest bank heist I've ever seen as well, Rod, absolutely. So let's see how we can make that happen. Oh yes, I should also switch on my little cursor highlighter here, pointer focus. And then we know where I'm pointing. That is a great idea, Brian. I've got I've put the link to my calendar in there. If you want to pick a time there, that sounds good. Yeah, let's do that. You premiere it. I will be there. That sounds like a great idea. This is the file I started in that I've left you with yesterday. The previous one was just one I used for the thumbnail. I'm thinking we could do it. How about tomorrow? If you're ready with it tomorrow, do you want to do it tomorrow? I think I'm working until 6 o'clock. But any time after that sounds good. If you want to make it 7, I'll be there definitely. So yes, duration of the animation. Dreamlab, hello, good to see you. Do you have any booze left? I hope you have. I'm sure you have. Tomorrow 6:30, that sounds like a deal. I'm looking forward to it, Brian. This is exciting. So it's very exciting things coming up. So Brian's video premieres tomorrow on YouTube at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And today after me at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I believe Steve wants to show us how to bring DAZ scenes and DAZ characters from DAZ Studio into Blender using Tele Blender 4. That sounds like a good idea. I'm looking forward to that. Enjoy the rum and coke. So let's tidy up this first thing in here. Let's just see how that works. If this whole pan is just a bit too slow, I'll just move that keyframe with that camera selected over to about, I don't know, maybe here. And then we just disregard the beginning and we just basically start the whole thing at here. That's cool. And then we can go and see these guys and we can see them here. That's nice. That's nice. Woohoo! That's always good. Thank you, Steve, for hosting my stream. I appreciate that. Every little helps. Saying things about streams, by the way, the stream we did yesterday, I think that was the most successful in regards to rewatches that I've ever gotten on Twitch. I think it had 28 views on Twitch, which is big for me. Usually I get like 5 or 10, and yesterday's stream had 28, so that's very exciting. So the first keyframe, I'll just leave that kind of variable. I won't shorten the animation just yet, but you know, this is already kind of nice to go into here. And if we do that, we may not even have to intercut things in the scene here. We might as well just leave it as that, and that'll be our establishing shot. And that's just, you know, FBI people dancing in the front here. The next one, that seems to be more of an issue because we do this slow pan into here, and I'd like to keep it this slow, but I think perhaps from here I would like to just make that a little bit faster. So I wonder what happens if we select a keyframe here, like add another keyframe here, and then just push all the next keyframes just further closer. So that would make this whole pan a little bit faster. So I like the slowness of this, and then I'd like to stop it here, and then we can go and speed the whole thing up, like have a little crash zoom there. So let's try that out. With the camera selected, I'll go onto the properties, and I'll say, put a keyframe here. The kitty, yes, she needs to come live with you in Polygon City as well. You have to find an FBX model of a cat, very important. And Steve, before I forget, you can see it here already. I've got both the shortcut keys installed, and I think I'm going to use Christina's tip and use the shortcut viewer, I suppose it's called. So I'll use that. That means in the bottom right here, you can see what I'm doing, what keys I'm pressing. Not all keys, sadly, but most of the keys that I'm pressing. This emulates the mouse button. So if I click my middle mouse button, then that lights up. Right mouse button does this, left mouse button does this, and so forth. And then keys will also just show up in the bottom right corner here if it helps. We're good. Rod's asking about his Discord server. What do we think about the idea of setting up a channel for rendo posts? I'm not sure, is my immediate reaction, only because I'm thinking that the links to Rendo, I guess, will be posted in Rod's Lair news. So you could amalgamate the two and encourage people to chat in the same room. Or you can split it off into a separate room and then post whatever you post on Rendo, links to that in that channel. That's a possibility. Since you have a strong following there, that is possible. So this is the gap I'm thinking of tightening up. So in order to make that happen, I'll go and border select these keyframes here and just shift them all slightly closer. So currently we're about 2,250. I'm going to make them all come closer to about here. As a result, we go and do this, and then we do that. And I have a feeling we can even make that faster than that. And I'm taking all the keyframes and I'm just tightening them up. So we do this, and then we do that. Okay, so this doesn't look great because it also speeds up this just a little bit. It stays slow onto here, but through the Bezier thing, we make that happen. Maybe that's okay, actually. I can't tell. Let's see what happens when we look at it from here. So I like that we're getting into medias res, as they say, a little bit quicker here. And we see these guys dancing a bit longer here. That's cool. I can make this longer so that we have a chance to zoom into their faces a bit quicker. I like that we're kind of faster into what's happening there, especially at 60 frames a second. This whole pan will give us ample opportunity to zoom in closer onto certain scenes and then zoom back out. I guess we'll start with the bank manager and then we go back out and we'll find ways. Then we come to about here, and then this is what I'd like to make a bit faster as well, this whole thing. I might even go and make all of these things a bit faster. So first, put that a bit closer here. Then we're over here. So we're also making that a little bit tighter. And then this whole thing, let's bring that in closer as well, because we don't really need to linger there. We do probably get what's happening. We saw her, and then we go and see, we can go even quicker. Oh yeah, so we go here, but then there's also this. So let's go and move that further over here. So then that's gonna be a double speed up. So that's nice. I like lingering there for a little bit, but then we go a bit faster through here. Now we don't hit the thing anymore, and now we're in the vault. And that will take our time with, because then we can do the intercutting, and that's kind of nice. We can linger here. We can probably linger there a little bit faster. No, actually, let's leave that as it is. That's cool. Toilet paper. TP is short for toilet paper. It is very funny. So let's watch it one more time. This is being disregarded. We're starting here. I'm even thinking that pan, that with that crash zoom, we can make it even faster. Good point. Yeah, you're streaming today. That's right. I'm looking forward to it, by the way, Steve. It's going to be an exciting episode. We also need to shift the bank manager a little bit, so when he kicks over that, when he makes that movement that we barely saw, he needs to kick the thing over there. I did wonder if there's room for one more person dancing here, like a background character. We may place one in here. Okay, let's go and shift all this, all that, even closer into here. So we have like half a second going from here to there. So I like it, but it takes a little bit of time for it to get going. Do you see what I mean? So it's kind of, I like for that to happen once the keyframe hits. So it's almost like we need to tighten up the previous keyframe also. Or we need to change the interpolation mode of that. So let's see what happens if I go and tighten up the previous thing as well. Then that probably leaves me to make that a little bit longer. So let's try that. So we're going into here. So we're lingering a little bit on these guys, and I'll intercut that with the close-up, and then we're going to go back. And it's still not exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah, so I might just deliberately switch the interpolation mode of these two keyframes to linear. We'll see how that affects it. So that might be more the effect I'm looking for, like a, yeah, like that. Almost like that, yes. And then we're going back to Bezier. And then, now that we have that going, we can probably just make that even faster so that it's literally, it's not supposed to look smooth. It's more like supposed to look like a video effect. I was considering like that. Yes, that's more what I'm looking for. It's almost like I was considering doing this in the post, but if I speed this up in the post, then their dancing is also faster. So I'd rather do it all in 3D. Okay, I almost like it. The only change I'd like to make is that I like to give this more space before we get going here, and that less space. So it's almost like just taking this keyframe and moving it over here. So then we go and start with the faster zoom onto the guys that this is all about. And now that we're here, we can go and spend some time cutting closer, cutting back, cutting maybe to another guy, cutting back, and then we're going into here. And then that does that, but that does that too late. Have you noticed? That's something I'm still concerned about, that this whole thing is actually happening too late. So the speed up motion is happening too late. I wonder if it's just the position of the camera that I need to change here. So I like the speed of the camera. It's just that I suppose at that point, maybe the camera's already too far in there. So I think I'm going to go and just move the camera back on this, which is Y, isn't it? So we'll just go and stick that on here. So then that happens. And then we go, boom, then that happens. That's what I'm thinking. Excellent, excellent. Good to hear it, Brian. Looks like it's just you, Steve. Let me see what OBS says. So sometimes OBS is difficult. And it says, no, it's lost in exactly 66 frames. So that's not that much, over 32 minutes. So that's good. We like it. There we go. Oh yeah, so then at the end, do we want to do the same speed? I mean, no, we don't really. We're happy just making it a little bit faster. All right. I suggest then that we start moving the first keyframe and all the other keyframes just further to the beginning. If we're kind of happy with this in principle, let me just tighten this up and switch to the out. And then we just make the whole thing a bit shorter. So currently we are at 5,400 frames. So let me go and shift all these things over here, like to about here. And then we're done at, let's say, frame 3,000, I don't know, 3,700. That'll be our new out. That's good. So 5,400 to 3,700. That's exciting. That'll be the new out. So I show you a nice little trick actually. If ever you need a calculator and you don't want to use any of these fields, you can go into the scripting palette and then you can go and calculate in here. So this is kind of crazy because this is essentially the Python console, and you can say, if I wanted to know we were at 5,400 minus 3,600, I can have a look at how many frames I've lost, which is 1,800. So that's not bad. So that's about a third I've lost on the whole animation. So that tightens it up runtime. Just thought, you'd get a kick out of it. I always get a kick out of it, out of things like that. I'll go and save this whole thing so that we can place more cameras now. So the cameras, there's two ways of doing it. I can either do it like we did it last time and essentially set more keyframes when I want to have a close-up. So like here, last time we did it that I set essentially 2 keyframes, one at which this shot stops, and then on the next keyframe we're more zoomed into a different area, and then comes another keyframe where we're zooming out again, or we're being zoomed out. So we do that on like the next keyframe, and the result is that it looks like a cut, but essentially it'll be a cut to and from the same camera. There's another way of doing it, and I think I'm going to use that, in which we cut to a completely different camera. And the advantage there is that we can go and reposition that camera literally anywhere we like. So rather than having to reposition the current camera, which works really well right now, we can just go and use a completely different camera and meddle with that. So one way of doing that, if we wanted to have in general the same shots, is to duplicate my current camera and mess with that. So that's a good way to do it, and then just literally mess with that camera and occasionally cut to it. But we can also use completely different angles of the scene, and I'm thinking that might be a cool idea, that we just have different angles of the same scene. And those cameras can be individually animated. So we can have a close camera for the front, a close camera for the middle, and a close camera for the back. And then we can take it from there. Wow, Dreamlab, that's crazy. So you did a bit of a consolidation session there. So like if bit of data from there, bit of data from there. Yeah, that's important. What did you go for? Is it like a single drive, or is it a part of a NAS? I'm always curious to hear things about a setup there. And Steampunk Belladonna, welcome to the stream. Good to see you again. Because I keep thinking of investing into a NAS, but I just don't know, you see. Let me go duplicate this camera, and then we can see how that would work if we can just come from that camera and then just mess with it. But I think certainly on the interior, I'd like to set up different cameras. So in here, I'll go and say Shift D. I think, no, I don't. It's over here, Shift D. There we go, that's it. And there. I'll just call this one camera 1 for now. And then this one can be camera 2. I can make that, once selected, I can make that the active camera by going into View, I believe, Cameras, Set Active Object as Camera. And notice that currently it'll behave exactly the same as the other camera. It has the same keyframes and all that. So I can literally go and mess around with it. So, but then of course the issue is this camera is moving. So let's try it. So if I'm here and I wanted to go and switch to the FBI girl quickly, because I like to look at her, even though this is a nice gesture. So I want to have him do that, and then we just quickly go and look at the FBI girl. Then I can try and do this with the focal length. So I can give that 60 mil if I wanted. But then also I need to make sure this camera at that point is looking at something else. I might just use a different camera. Then I can use different angles. Let's go forget about that. Let's go and select camera 2, exit. There we go, camera 2 gone. And let me go and create a brand new camera here. Shift A. I must be in the tech stuff collection so that the camera gets created there. Just makes my life a little bit easier. There it is. So cam 2. And I'll go and look through that and just have a look at my FBI girl through here. There. With that, I think I might go and leave the focal length the same. So I just make sure that on my camera 2, I'll go and make that also 28, so that we don't perceive a shift of focus there, shift of what's it called, the perspective shift. And it's just, you know, it's just a theory. It might not even matter. It might actually be nice to have a different focal length. So if we just leave that on here, she's dancing. We want to probably be on her when she's a bit lower. So let's go like that. While we see him in the background. In fact, yeah, let's try it. If I just switch the overlays off, what do you think looks better? If we leave it at 28, or shall we leave it at something like 50? In favor of that. I have a feeling if we just go and, whoops, FBI girl, come back here. There we go. Both will work. It's a matter of personal preference, I think. Steve, how terrible is that? Because I had the same thing yesterday. Internet just goes and doesn't want to work anymore. And you think, what now? That's terrible. Yeah, I had literally like 1 megabyte up, and that was not good. And today everything's back to normal, so it's kind of crazy. I'm gonna go stick with 28. I'll stick with 28, and then I'll go and zoom in close like so. Focus on her, look into the back, but still see the guys in the background here. She's going to be at the bottom at that point when we're cutting to her. And we'll do that straight after he goes and does his swinging arms thing. Let's do that. So first of all, keyframe the camera here so that it stays with I. And now I'll go back to my first camera, and my first camera is kind of the master, and I will then change to another camera if and when I see the need for that. So I'll go change back to make that camera active. There we go. And as promised, second camera is moving. We're going into here, and he's doing that. And this is a good time to cut. So cutting to another camera is by selecting it. Oh, I guess the stream's just gone. What's happened? That's crazy. I should really start recording a local thing here. It looks like I'm still transmitting it, so I don't know. I've just lost it. I've totally just lost it. Aye, it burns. What happened? That is uncool. So I've just refreshed my thing, and it looks like it came back. So I really don't know what happened there. We're back now. OBS did not flag an error, interestingly. That's bizarre. But it came right back. No, so there must be something. Maybe my internet connection is still, tragically clogged up. But what I would expect is that OBS would give me an error message. Well, I've made a local recording now, so it's should it happen again, I hope I can work around it. So as I was saying, the camera, yeah, but OBS is the one that's sending things. So if there was a network congestion, OBS would tell me, hey, I couldn't send the packages out. So it could, like you say, it could well be that Twitch had a hiccup there. Everything's based on computers. Yeah, OBS called COVID-19. COVID-20. It's the next major version, new and improved. So to set a camera keyframe here, select the second camera you want to switch to, then move into the bottom, kind of this area here of your timeline. It doesn't work in the whole timeline, it only works in the bottom part of the timeline, and hit Shift B. And no, it doesn't actually. It's Shift M, isn't it? No, it's not actually. It's Control M, isn't it? No, it's not. Man, I don't remember. You do something, and then that sets a keyframe. I think, is it marker? Bind cameras, Control B, that's the one. Control B, but you have to do it here. And then that changes to camera 2 at that point. That's awesome. What I forgot to do is, of course, and on the first keyframe here, select my camera 1 and then set Control B here for camera 1. So, and that's how that works then. It's the camera, the timeline now changes between cameras at these points. So, boom, here. Then we see her twerk, and as soon as, just before she goes back up, we'll go and set another camera keyframe back to camera 1. So right here, Control B. And then we're back on this guy. And I think that's really all the cutaways I need here. I don't think I need to see the other FBI guy. I could do that before that. That might be an idea, that we just quickly cut to him and then back, and then we're here, and then we're back. That might even be too fast. See if I can move it. Yeah, look, I can move it back and forth. That's nice. So I'll try and do the same thing once we're here. We've seen the guys. I'm now going to go and maybe change to a camera 3, or I could use the same camera 2 and just move it at that point in time. That's also another idea. Yeah, so maybe I'll do that. I'll just go and pick this as a just select that camera 2 and just hit Control B here. And that now changes to something I don't really want to see at that point. But then I'm going to go change back. And we'll just go take care of the positioning in a moment. So then we're going back onto this. So during this time here, on camera 2, we know that when we cut to, we can reposition it here. Here it needs to be stationary already, so I might just set a keyframe just before we need it here. So I'll go say I and I here, and that's then the same. And this is the kind of keyframe we wanted to be moved at already. So I'll go and just park my camera there to make sure I set my camera here as my active object under view. And this is what I'm going to change now. So it'll be the FBI guy that I want to see here at that point. Because he's the star of the show. Come on, FBI guy. I don't want to frame the other guys out, but I think that's what I'm going to have to do, just to get a quick, sneaky close-up on him. Negative space there. Oh, negative space the other side now. Yeah, actually, negative space the other side. I think that might work. So we're already getting a little insight into the bank, as it were. So camera 2, reposition you here at that point. And I just need to make sure it doesn't wander from here to there at that point. That's cool. So we've got the next keyframe sorted. We want to be there at that point, but we want that camera to be stationary until that point. So let's go duplicate that keyframe. and just move it over here. Literally one frame before the other one will be fine. So then we cut to this guy. Might have to do a bit of adjustment there. And then we're cutting back to the first camera. Need to actually move these two keyframes into where we're looking at the first camera. So like here. So this does this, then we go on here. We can always switch this around a little bit to match up his movements a bit better. Then we do this, and then we're on here, and then we're on here, and then we keep moving. That's the plan anyway. Man, we're gone again. What's going down? Internet just keeps dropping out. OBS doesn't say anything about it. Nah. I really don't know what this is all about. The second you refresh, of course, the stream is gone, so uncool. Not unreal, uncool. Yes. Yeah, sorry about that. Don't know what to do with that. We'll just crack on, I guess, and if it keeps happening, I can always, finish a little bit early. You just have to get going a bit faster, Steve. Well, I'll plan my way through here, the camera keyframes. So we do this, we've seen the guys. We're on him and we're changing back. I just think maybe the framing needs to be amended just a little bit. Maybe also cut to him a little bit later. So I'll go and cut to him like here. And I'll amend the framing just a little bit that we have, I think maybe just be a little bit further out there. It's kind of tricky to do. It's also my first time that I'm actually doing this, with the multiple cameras in the timeline on something that complex. Because of course, the moment I move the playhead, it changes to a different camera. So I wonder if maybe just using separate cameras for each shot might be better rather than trying to utilize the same one and moving it while doing that. Maybe it's just easier to use disposable cameras, even if it's for a single shot. I might do that going forward. I think that's probably a good lesson learned there. So since he's moving up and down, I think I'm just going to go out a little bit. So that's Y, isn't it? Y location. Yeah, I'll do that. And I'll just do this. And then I go to the next keyframe. Ooh, that's always good. Christina, how you doing? Good to see you. Jan, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel on YouTube. I appreciate that. Very nice. And I'll go move that out as well. It's not exactly the same shot, but it's, it'll be fine for what we're doing. So let's see here. Yes, I think I'd like to cut to him a little bit later because I like that. I like to see the SWAT guy in full swing there. I don't want to lose that. So he's just been doing this. And I like to keep on the guy, and then I can go and cut to FBI guy just quickly, and then I'll go back a little bit later like that. I have a feeling that's probably a bit too short to cut to him. Yes, we need to see him a little bit longer, don't we? But that's because these two keyframes here are now at the wrong spot, so we can put them here. So let's see. That, then that, then that, then that, then that. Okay. We're getting there. So I know that from now on, I'll just go and use disposable cameras for that. Yeah, so we need to give the middle shot more room then. That's probably good, but we need to have a bit more room for that. Even more, because the cutaways are supposed to be just... Yeah, okay, and if we do that, then we're having to reframe her. But that's easy to do as well. Okay, so we go here, I'll go and select my second camera, and she pops out at the top, so we just go and adjust the Z a little bit, like so. Put a keyframe here, and that should do the trick. Good, and then we do that. Forthcoming cameras will be individual. Let's go and save it. It is so nice of him that he did that, Christina. I thought that was really, really nice for him to just say goodbye. I love that. Do you know Steampunk Belladonna? I was working for MTV back in London, actually, for about 10 years, over 10 years, actually 12 years. It started in 2000 in Hawley Crescent in Camden. That was very good, MTV Europe. And we did all, that's still the remnants from when satellite TV had just been a big hit all over Europe. We were producing several of these live shows for MTV Spain. That was a 2-hour show that we did, and then we did all kinds of other studio links, even for people outside MTV. So they had studios that would rent them out, including the crew. And I came as part of the crew for anything like BBC, Channel 4, Channel 5, all those types of UK productions. Very cool. But yes, that song very much reminds me of that, of working there. 3 days off, yeah, no, he definitely deserves that. I totally agree. Do you know, it certainly helped. Absolutely. It certainly helped with the dance moves. So let's see how we can progress on the inside of the bank. So I like seeing the whole group doing their thing, and I suppose here is already the, oh, actually, before we get tweaking with that, I will just set up a third camera and have a look at the bank manager, because we were going to move his dance moves that we see him knocking over one of these poles a little bit earlier. So let's see if we can do that. Let me go create a new camera. And I'll call that one Cam 3. And I'll go switch over to that. Camera, set active object as camera, good stuff. And then I will go and say, don't need the front people anymore, need the bank employees here, namely the bank manager. There he is. And I like to just see this camera not actually changing. I just want to see where he does his dance moves, because there's this, but there's one even before that, I believe, because he doesn't really need to start dancing until here, I suppose. No, I suppose he needs to already dance here. I understand. He does something there, doesn't he? He does this thing on the inside. I'll just shift the animation a little bit later with the bank manager here. He does a silly dance, really? what's his name? Root 002. Oh, that's what we need to look for here. So I'll go maybe bank MGR. Bank manager here, this exactly, swing 1, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. So I suppose I can start that a little bit later to about here, and then we'll see what that does. Yeah, he needs to dance there already. So yeah, I totally agree. So maybe we can go and just shift it the other way. Yeah, like that. I'd love to see that. So I think that's a good idea if we do that, because then we can animate him being all amazing, and that'll then knock over this thing while he's there, because that's, you know, that's center stage. We need to really see that. Okay, let's do that. Before we do more cameras, we'll do and knock the thing over. I need to find that first, of course. It looks so cool, Christina, and I've tightened up the cameras now so that the animation is a bit shorter, but a bit snappier. And now we're setting individual cameras for, like, you know, a cutaway close-up, so that the whole scene becomes a little bit more interesting. So let's see if what we can do here with that pole. So he knocks it about here, boom. And the pole itself is, that's in the, where is it? The bank. It's got to be in the bank. Oh, I got my overlays here. There we go. Hello? What am I seeing here now? I'm seeing orthographic view. That's not good. Whoa, what was that? The bank is now gone. That's uncool. How do I get out of orthographic mode? I thought I had this, I thought it was 5. I guess it's not 5. 5 just hides the collection. Is it this 5? This 5, okay. Whew. Damn. Scary. Where's the bank manager? I've hidden the bank employees. Poor guys. There. Front people I've also accidentally hidden. That's not good. There we go. I might actually change my local camera also to 28. So I'm working in the same perspective. That might just give me a little wider field of view there. Oh, 5 on the numpad. Thanks. I knew it was 5. I just didn't know which 5. So he comes in here and then he goes boom. So I need to keyframe this guy's position, not this guy as in the bank manager, but the pole here at this point. I guess this and that. And then so then he knocks it over. So that's when it needs to fall over. How long does it take for something to fall at 60 frames a second? Shall we start with 10 frames a second? Let's try it up to here. So here I'd like for that thing to fall over. I don't know where the origin point of that is, and it also will then have an effect on all the other things here. So I'll just use this thing as a reference, and I'll try to move it around Y maybe. Ah, yes, there we go. That's perfect. That'll work. It will work, but the origin point is not at exactly the correct point. So I just need to quickly tweak that if I can remember how to do it. I want to put it on this thing here. That. So what's the best way of doing it? I'd do it by the moving the cursor to there and then saying set the origin point to there. But there may be a better way to do it. I just don't know what it is, because this is an action that you perform so often. I think there's a way to do it without the cursor. Might be something that could go on the quick menu item, but I haven't set anything up here, so I might have to set that up. The dynamic menu, do I have that enabled? How do I find out, Christina? Sorry for my lack of knowledge of these things. So the way I would do it is to go and search for, because I don't know how else to move the cursor. I'll just go set. No, actually, it's move, grab, add-ons. Yeah, I don't have that. I don't have that. It's something about cursor to snap cursor to active. That's that. And then I would search again, set origin, and then it would say origin to 3D cursor. Operation cannot be performed in edit mode. Yeah, of course not. So then we do that again and say set origin to 3D cursor. And then if I go and rotate this around, what did I say, the Y, is it? Then it'll fall over like Dreamlab suggested. I should do, yeah. You have a really good channel actually, Christina. Thank you for letting me know. So yes, I'll click here and then I'll quickly go and set I, and then this thing goes and boom, falls over. It looks like it does a decent job. That's nice. Speed looks okay. And now all we need to do is make sure all the other things fall over at the same time as well. It looks like the position of them isn't actually super correct. I just saw that they are kind of buried in the carpet here. I think I will leave them where they are. It's just that I've noticed that really these poles are also not exactly connected to the rope. I wonder if it's worth just positioning them properly. And nothing's really connected to the rope properly. I guess we'll leave all the... Could it be because the carpet is in the wrong place? No. Yeah, they should be moved over slightly to the right, shouldn't they? Like all of these. Let's leave the rope in place and just move the things over. I think that's probably best. Which means we're gonna have to tweak our starting point, perhaps. Do you think? It could be. I have no recollection of what this looked like before. We do have the previous animation though, so we can go and have a quick nosy. Yeah, it looks like they were always in a bit of a wrong position here. I think it's just that they were kind of half buried in the carpet here, but not as bad as they are now. It looks also like the rope was once connected to it. Do you know what I should have done is just not actually animate the object, but put these whole things into an empty and then animate the empty. That's probably easier. Okay, thank you, Christina. I shall do that. Do you know, maybe that's a good idea. Use the carpet and make the carpet less narrow. That might even be the easiest. But that still means, yes, actually maybe I'll do that. So first things first, the rope needs to be elsewhere. So that's GX. No, not that. Don't do that. Just the rope. Ah, interesting. Why is that now? Yeah, that's now getting into the realm of, hey, is it worth doing that? Let's go abort, not change the origin point. Put everything into an empty, do that with the empty, and leave the objects alone because I can just foresee messiness. Let's do the undo history. See where we have set origin. That's perfect. Snap cursor to active. This is where we're going to go back to. Good thing I've saved it before I messed anything up here. Abort, abort. Whoop, whoop. It's difficult to say. They're not big on, Christina, are the ropes children of the, are the poles children of the roof of the rope? It's difficult to say because they're not big on parenting things, I don't think. And Blender isn't big on showing me, go to the item that's selected in the outliner, so there's about 4,000 objects. It'll be really difficult for me to figure this out. Oh, there it was. Rope barrier. So yeah, it looks like there's a rope barrier, and this seems to be the parent object. Good call. This is the parent object. So if I go GX, that's why they all moved at that point, right? So it looks like that is already the parent object. Ah. So maybe then I need to change the origin point of that parent object instead. Let's try that. Set origin to 3D cursor. That hasn't moved the position, but now if I go and say RY, that'll knock the whole barrier over. Ah, good call. Okay. We have, of course, now lost the other guy here that was already keyframed, which I cannot remember who that was. So let's quickly go back and see where he is, so we can go and undo the keyframes. The whole rope barrier. Where's the pole? Man. Undo history. Set origin. Go back to before we did any of that. Toggle edit mode. Deselect all. Toggle edit mode. Frame change. That's a good idea. Go back there. Crazy. It was going so well. Ah, the pole's back. Okay, good. This pole. Are you animated yet? No. Good stuff. Let's not make that happen. We're going to go and delete that keyframe. We know you're the mother object here. And we're going to go animate you in a moment. So let's go and let's go. Maybe, yes, different scene. Let's go and put that origin point correctly. So let's go and set origin to 3D cursor. I'm glad that's still there. And let's say this is where he's starting to knock it over. So I'll go and keyframe this guy here, I and I. And we said over maybe over about 8 frames. That's how long it takes for this thing to knock over. So it'll be R, Y, and then you go. Since they're heavy, I think they shouldn't bounce. I suppose we'll leave the bouncing. I think that we can live with that. He doesn't seem to do it again, but I am, of course, concerned that some of these ropes, they're just... I mean, what is this connected to here? That should probably be connected to somewhere here. I don't think he's knocking that over. It's just not something I've noticed before. Where was that rope? I mean, we can just go and move it in the correct place, I would imagine. No, we can't. That's just the way it's built. Has that also got to do with the origin point, do you think? Yeah, I think they're... Yes, I think so. Have they been moved together during the... No. Man, this is uncool. Float rope, yeah. So maybe since we're not animating this rope, maybe I can get away with just going into edit mode here. And then what happens if I just want to select just this? No, it looks like it's some weird duplicate clone thing of God knows whatever. That's uncool. Yeah, that I don't know how to fix. That's just way above my pay grade. Was that like that before? Let's just have another look at that animation. No, that rope's definitely in place there. Yes. Unweld and separate loose parts. That's all. That sounds scary to me, and I'm not sure if I want to go down that path. That just takes me way into a completely different direction, and that's not what I had planned for today. I would say then, if we can't make this happen, I'll just go and move his dance moves so that we don't see him knocking this thing over. That would be my solution. Just don't touch any of that. If it causes that many headaches, it's going to just have a knock-on effect on 45 other parts that will basically ruin what we've just built here over 2 days, you know? Yes, that's a shame. That is a shame. Because it also has an effect on this rope here, so I don't really know when that changed. Yeah, but it looks like Steampunk Belladonna, as soon as I touch any of these things, something changes, and I don't really know what that is. So Brian was probably right in saying that this had to do with changing the origin point, because that's what Blender's like. You do something unrelated to anything and everything falls apart. That's just what happens. So before I set the origin, if I do that, let's go back there, see if the other ropes come back to life. Yeah, Steve, a few issues in that I wanted to knock over a pole, and as soon as I did that, other poles and ropes changed. So yeah, look at that. It looks like that was indeed the issue. So this rope is now back where it belongs. So what happens then if I leave all this as it is and just go and turn this, put an empty around this, and then manipulate the empty? That should do the trick, right? Because then this whole thing, I can go and select hierarchy. That's nice. And then if I go and put an empty right here where the cursor is, that should allow me to just manipulate whatever's in the empty without manipulating any other objects. Let me try that. That might be an idea. So we'll just go leave all that in here. Just go create an empty. Turn it, maybe make it a cube empty type thing. That's in the position of the cursor now, so that's kind of nice. I'll just go and bring that up and maybe make that a bit smaller. So G Z1. I might put that, I might just make that slimmer. So that's SX. That I just have an impression of the box there. GY to about here, and then SY. And then we go and say SZ, something like that. And then we go GZ. And then it's kind of almost, that's yeah, it's kind of close enough. Maybe we'll just move it over to the X a bit. So GX, that's a rope canister thing. So if I now go and select the hierarchy here, then I shift select the empty, then I go actually Command P. That was bad, wasn't it? Should have said keep transforms. Yes. Ay, caramba, nice one. So my empty is now the falling barrier. And I'll go and just select the falling barrier and set its origin to wherever the cursor is right now. That might be a good idea, because it's kind of floating in the air, but we have set the cursor to exactly where we need the thing to kind of, you know, balance on. So if I go and set my origin to the 3D cursor just of this thing, all the other ropes are still in place, and we go R, Y, and the origin point is of course totally screwed up. Please tell me why that is. Didn't I set the origin of the thing to the cursor? Should I have applied something on the empty? That may have helped, because location isn't exactly applied. Let's go and create all transforms. That's mean, I think. Apply the rotation and scale. Doesn't want to do it. Bizarre stuff. Yeah, I thought I did that, Christina. I thought I did that. I haven't applied the transforms of the empty as I was just before I parented it, but with the empty selected, I'm going to go and set the origin of that to the 3D cursor. I did that, so I'm assuming it to be here, but as soon as I rotate that, it doesn't obey my commands here. So I wonder if it's because I didn't quite apply the transforms of the empty after I put it in place. Let's start again. I like it. Let's just go start again, because I don't know how to unparent it. I'll go and go back in my history before I make anything the parent of anything. Yeah, so it's bizarre, isn't it? Because, so select the empty, and since it's now in place, I go Control A, rotation and scale, or all transforms in fact, and it doesn't even do that. That's pathetic. That's uncool. I seriously dislike that. I want for this thing to be this size in this place without it doing anything. I just want to make everything else normal. Isn't that what apply Chlons does? Location perhaps, it does that. That's terrible. So it's the opposite of what anyone would ever want. Let's try rotation. I didn't do anything rotation-wise, that's cool. Just location and scale. So rotation, location and scale. Scale. It does that. It's pathetic. Seriously uncool. Doesn't make any sense at all. Nah, I gotta. Well, so then we could also, instead of, if empties are the issue, Christina, why don't we just make a cube and then make the cube invisible? Would that work? If the cubes react better than empties, maybe we'll just go and delete the empty, put a cube in place and see if that works. That might be interesting. Let's try that. Cube, I'll scale the cube up so that it's where I'd like it to be. So scale it in the X, make it a bit flatter here. And then we go and move it in the X so that it's kind of on there. Then we go and move it in the Y. Then we go and scale it in the Y. And we go scale it in the Z. And then we go and maybe move it up even further. Like that, just so that we have a bit of a, a bit of a thing going here. I'll call this one falling barrier. And now if I go and say Control A, all transformations, it should stay in place, right? Yeah, cool, it does that, that's perfect. So then if I go and select my rope thing here, that's where it is, so select hierarchy. Then I kind of shift select that cube, almost. Shift select that cube. Then I go and say Control P, parent it, keep transforms. That should be awesome, right? So now then, if I go and just select my cube and set the origin of the cube to the cursor where I know it needs to be, set origin to 3D cursor, then I go and say rotate around the Y, then the barrier falls. Oh, good. I'm not going to animate that though. So as soon as I find out how to turn the cube invisible, I suppose we're golden. Does that work? So empties work that differently to geometry, even though they look more or less exactly the same. That's interesting. How interesting. You learn something new every day. We're going to take a 5-minute break, my friends, and then we will be back for more schnick-schnack and shenanigans. That is a very good tip, Dreamlab, actually. Yeah, it's a good point. Let's just not show whatever is there that, we don't want to see. Like Blender, for example. OBS has decided we don't want to show Blender anymore. That's, I'm seeing it, but it looks like you're not seeing it. What's going down? Hey, there it is. Perfect. Don't know where it went there. Don't know. One of those things. That's exciting to hear about the ragdoll physics. I didn't know it had that. That's cool. It's very nice. So after spending an hour of our time not actually doing anything with cameras, just figuring out how Blender thinks, now that we've worked it out, let's see if we can, while still fresh in our memories, make the cube invisible even. So with the cube selected, I'll just call that maybe invisible cube. That should do the trick. Just make it completely transparent. I wonder if we just crank up the like just turn the alpha down. No, that makes it black, of course. That makes perfect sense. I wonder how I make that invisible. Oh, I just hide it, don't I? I don't even deal with the material at all. I just hide it from the viewport and the render. That's how I do it. That's actually a much better way to do it. Exactly. That's how I'll do it. And since I do, of course, not remember what I've just called it, falling barrier. Yeah, this is something else. I'm not sure why they put that in. I seem to remember on the older versions of Blender, there were more than one icon here by default. So now this hides it from the viewport. But if I wanted to hide it in the render, I always have to go up here and then bring this icon up. And when that's there, I can then go and switch that off, and then it means it doesn't render it. But it used to be that these were there by default. Is there a way to bring this back so that it becomes a default? Because I quite often want to do that I just want to hide something from the render rather than having to filter this out. Is there a way to do that? Do you know? I did actually like the white material better, so I will just go and make that, bring that value back to 1 there. Ah, all right, yes, of course, it's an interface state, isn't it? Yeah, UI interface state. Okay, cool. Great, I'll do that. Let's go quickly bring this whole barrier animation thing to an end. So when he goes and knocks it here, that's when he kind of knocks the rope, I guess. I'll go and keyframe that here and there. And then we set that over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frames. That should be enough to knock this thing over in the Y rotation. So RY, excellent. RY, boom. And it's not in anyone else's way, I hope. It's kind of over her foot, but I don't think we see that very much. Okay. Whew, let's move on. Get on with the cameras. We have about an hour's time, I think. Just under an hour, and then Steve's going to stream, so let's see if we can finish by then. I'm sure we can. Right. Thank you, Christina. I shall try that, and then I can totally file that, just save that as my default file. Do you know, I just need to grab a tea. Hang on a second. I'll be back. I'll be back in 1 second. Yeah, I thought I'll just top it up. That's cool. Don't worry. So, I'm thinking, let's go. Very good way of looking at it. Very good way of looking at it, Dreamlab. Sometimes that's just what it takes, doesn't it? So I'll go switch back to my camera 1. After doing that, and that, we do that. And I suppose I can also just, shall we just hide that here? Yeah, let's hide the barrier thing here. Falling barrier, we'll hide that from our view as well. Yeah. So we go in here, then we watch these guys dance their thing for a bit. I think we'll wait until he knocks it over. And then here, I think we can go and set up one camera that looks from here. So I think I'm gonna go and try and frame this woman up here with our 4th camera. So let's stay here for a moment and create another camera, which is nice. It comes into place where the cursor is. I like that. And that is now, oh dear, that is now in some other, in the bank bystander. So I want to move that out, move that into tech stuff. There, so that's going to be cam 4. And I will go and switch to it. And since I know that she is the businesswoman, is it businesswoman 1 or 2? I don't quite remember. Let's see if it's businesswoman 1. No, it's businesswoman 2. There we go, good stuff. I'll also make that camera the same 28 millimeters, I'm thinking. Didn't keyframe it, did I? Ah, what a shame. What a shame indeed. I wonder if there's a way to disregard things that you set up down here. I wonder if that actually works. Because I think actually the camera itself is still there. It's just that the moment I move the timeline, it goes and switches to whatever camera is selected here. So I suppose I could go and trigger this with, was it Control B? Turn that into camera 4 there, I guess. Yeah, I could do that. And then I'll go back to the camera 1 now. And we can always animate these cameras, and I might do that actually because it's nice to come from a short kind of pan to another pan. So I might actually do that. And say once we're kind of here with that camera selected, I'll just go and just have it move to about here. That's the plan. So I'll just go and whack a keyframe in here. And I suppose at that point we were more here. So I'll go and mark that as a keyframe. And now we have just a little bit more camera movement there. And so that these movements happen in that little window that I've set here, I'll go and take the keyframes just outside, like so. Perfect. Then we do this. He does a pirouette here. That's nice. And I think maybe I'd like to go close on him now before we go over here. I think I'd like to do that. So let me go and set up another camera, the 5th camera, because this is a bit of a boring shot until we go and come off here, and then we go pan into here, so we can be on him in a close-up kind of from the front after the pirouette thing. Let's do that. So next camera. Oh yeah, we need to be in tech stuff so I don't have to move it. What were they working with, Rod? Were they working with Blender as well? New camera. Camera has not gone where I wanted it. Thank you, Blender. That's really helpful. It's really, really, really helpful. Appreciate your help there, buddy. Super awesome. It's in Bank Bystanders. Wasn't I on that collection? No, you weren't. Why wasn't I? Well, I don't know. Didn't you check? Well, I thought I did. Well, obviously you didn't check hard enough. Well, that's a shame, isn't it? Man. Camera 5. Boom. Awesome. So we want the bank manager to be in focus. Here he is. I think I'll go and have him from here, something like that. Might put the woman in as well, since we've just seen her. We'll make the focal length 28 again, so we get a bit more of the whole bank there. And I suppose I'll just go and cut to the camera here. I think that's what it was. With that selected, here we go. No. We do that